Welcome to the Retro Network Podcast, the flagship show for the Retro Network Podcast channel. Get ready for the latest pop culture news, interviews, and topical discussions on all that stuff we grew up with and just can't leave in the past. And now, here are your hosts for the Retro Network Podcast, Jason and Mickey.
Well, welcome back to another episode of the Retro Network Podcast with Jason and Mickey. How are you doing, Mickey?
I've had better days, but I'm still surviving.
Well, that's good. Survival is very good. By the way, as we're recording here, tomorrow's Father's Day, so happy Father's Day to you.
Oh, yeah, it is. Happy Father's Day to you, too.
You forgot. Hopefully your family won't forget.
I wouldn't put it past them.
I already got my Father's Day gifts out of the way, so I kind of got to choose them myself this time around. But yeah, it's kind of a lazy day for me. I usually fall asleep watching golf or something and get a nice little nap in, but nothing really special we have planned each year for Father's Day. How about you?
Normally, we go see my dad on Father's Day, but this year we are traveling tomorrow on vacation, so we went and saw my old man 2 days ago. Took him a butterscotch pie and a blueberry cake for Father's Day.
Ooh.
He's one of those guys, you know, there's nothing you can get him. But he's not supposed to eat that stuff, but he loves it. So, you know, Mom won't let him have that. But if it's for an occasion, she don't have a choice. So that was Father's Day.
My dad probably best served as getting him like a bottle of vinegar and a clove of garlic.
Oh, my kind of guy.
He's on these kicks. He has like a tablespoon of vinegar every day and loves garlic and goes through all this, you know, stuff that they tell you, you know, glass of wine each day, whatever, to keep to keep going. So
good for him.
I'll have to put together like a dad pack or something and get all that stuff and ship it to him, because I can't visit him on Father's Day. It would take me a day and a half just to get there.
My doctor wants me to drink a glass of wine a day, but with work and everything, I can't. So I usually just drink all 7 glasses on Saturdays.
There you go. To
make up for it.
Make up for it. I like it. Well, just following up from last week, how was your arcade trip and your flea market?
Oh, the flea market was really cool. I got a bunch of pictures I need to do something with on Twitter or Instagram or something. But the arcade, we were going to go to Flipside Arcade in Bristol, but we were closer to Johnson City, and I discovered they had an arcade there, too, called Play It Again Arcade. Mm-hmm. And I looked at the reviews of both, and Play It Again seemed bigger, so we went there. But it was the same deal, $10, all you want to play. And I was shocked at just how many cabinets they had of what I consider original arcade games. Mm-hmm. We played Tron, we played Miss Pac-Man, Galaga, Space Invaders, Karate Champions, Pong. Well, the Pong game, they didn't have an original Pong machine. I think this is a new machine. It's the first time I'd seen it, but mm-hmm. It's a tabletop, and under the glass are actual pieces that mm-hmm. slide back and forth with the square, mm-hmm. and you have a little wheel you turn. So you're playing Pong, but it's real pieces. It's not digitally rendered. Gotcha. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that real well, but
no, I think I've seen that.
I took some video of it I can do something with, too, of my kids playing. But we wore that Pong game out. But you and I had talked about some games last week. I got to play 1942. Mm-hmm. I got to play Rampage. And they had a few Nintendo machines that had like 10 games on each console. So I was playing some Rad Racer and Super Mario Brothers. And
Play Choice 10. Yep.
Yep, there you go. They had the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game there, which was still awesome.
Yeah, that one's great.
Way more than I could mention, but they had a concession stand too that also had a retro theme to it. Oh, nice. You're not finding Sour Patch Kids or anything modern. If it was not sold in the 80s, they don't sell it at their concession stand.
Oh, nice.
So, I mean, you had Reese Pieces and M&Ms and Skittles and such, but all their sodas were in glass bottles. Glass bottle Pepsi, Mountain Dew, Coke, all that. So it is a really, really nice place. We had the kids. I think we spent about 6 hours in there, and the kids just loved every minute of it.
Yeah, and it went by like that, right?
Yeah, it did.
I'm telling you, those places, you jump in there and you blink your eyes and you're like, wow, it's dark outside. The one that I went to had like that old school carpeting with the rocket ships and stuff, and they had black lights, and it was just the experience in some of those places are just great.
Well, this place had black lights too, and on one of the walls they had like a, I don't know, 75-inch flat screen television playing 80s music videos, but they had the sound system all throughout.
Nice.
So it was really, really cool.
Oh, wow.
So a free advertisement, Play It Again Arcade, Johnson City, Tennessee, well worth the trip.
Cool. Well, speaking of drinks and glass bottles, we got some in the mail this week. Our new Coke came. Yep. And you will never guess what happened.
Well, let's see. The last time we talked about it, you had some canceled orders. So at least yours came. So what was so special about it?
So I get an email the day before it arrived. I actually got 2 emails saying that my order was coming. So I was like, wait, I got 2 coming? And sure enough, the one that was refunded apparently went through their system. So I got 2 for the price of 1.
You lucky dog.
I know. The Coke gods are shining on me.
Have you cracked the can of new Coke open yet?
Not yet. Now my oldest was at camp all week, so he just came back yesterday, and we're gonna do the Pepsi challenge sometime today. And you're gonna put Pepsi, the Coke Classic, and the new Coke, and we're gonna see if we can guess them.
I look forward to hearing about it because I'm a little concerned. I don't really remember reading the news too much. Is it actually supposed to be the new Coke formula?
Yes.
Okay.
It's supposed to match exactly what it was back in 1985.
Because on the can that came, under the Stranger Things logo on the can, it says, enjoy this limited edition 1985 can in celebration of Stranger Things 3.
Well, it's got to be the original formula because when I looked at the ingredients, the new Coke is actually sweeter than Pepsi. If you can believe that. So
okay, because I looked at the ingredients as well, and which is on the box that all this stuff came in. The ingredients for the new Coke and the Coca-Cola Classic in the bottle, the ingredients are the exact same.
Really?
Yeah, which is why I'm worried that it may just be regular Coke in a collectible new Coke can.
Now that's interesting because I did not compare the two.
Both of them say carbonated water, high fructose corn syrup, which they weren't using in '85 for new Coke. So it's
look at the
certainly
sugar. What does the sugar say?
Okay, 42 grams of sugar in new Coke. And Coke Classic has 26 grams of sugar.
Okay, and Pepsi has 41 then, because it was like 1 gram more than Pepsi. So I guess that's it. Maybe it's just dump some sugar in there.
Maybe, but it's going to be a little different anyway because it has high fructose corn syrup in it, which they weren't using in '85. So it may not that anybody can remember that far back and will be able to notice a difference based on that. But the box they sent these things in is really nice too.
Oh yeah.
The only unfortunate part, it's plastered with all these different shipping stickers.
I've carefully removed the packing tape off the top, but yeah, I'm not going to get that shipping sticker on the side off. So I think I'm going to put
packing tape on the top of mine.
Oh, really?
Which was nice. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I'm planning to put like all my little Stranger Things collectibles in it. Put it in my little display case or something and keep those in there just to keep the box, and I don't know if I'm going to how many I'm going to crack open now that I got 2 shipments, but we'll see.
Yeah, you're lucky. I definitely have to crack open 1 can because we got to film some video with it. But other than that, I'll probably keep the other can intact.
Yeah. Well, we just talking about new Coke and all that this week, we decided we're going to talk about our some of our favorite drinks from the past that maybe should also be brought back like they're doing with New Coke. And yeah, I might lean heavily on you for this one because all the drinks that I've wanted to come back have seemingly come back in the last few years. So,
well, whether we want them to come back or not, I'm sure there's just some good memories involved in some of these old drinks. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into some recurrent events topics here from this past week. And we've got a fun interview coming up. We're going to continue the Batman 89 theme on our TRN Hotline. And I'm going to be talking with Chris Tanski, who is probably the biggest movie buff that I know in his experience dating back to 1989. So be looking out for that and our discussion. But right now, let's get into recurrent events. Well, combining a couple stories from last week, Looney Tunes, we were talking about the new Looney Tunes shorts coming back and the new Guns N' Roses album. Well, I saw a story this week from Ultimate Classic Rock that Axl Rose actually made a cameo in the new Looney Tunes series on the Cartoon Network sometime a while back. And in the episode, Axl sings this song called Rock the Rock. And he saves the earth from this meteor.
Wow.
But the story was about how the writers got Axl to come in and just how all that came together. Apparently they were at like a GNR show and they actually came out to the Looney Tunes theme. So they got an idea to write him into a show where he rocks so hard that he saves the world,
Wow.
But I watched the clip on YouTube. It's out there if you want to find it. Just look for Axl Rose Looney Tunes or Rock the Rock. And it's pretty fun. I really enjoyed it.
That's a weird mashup right there.
It's totally weird, but it somehow worked.
I guess, in the later years, Axl Rose has kind of turned into a cartoon of himself. So maybe that's the connection there.
Very true. Very true. That's, spot on. All right. Well, also this week, I saw that there's a new Contra game coming out. It's going to be called Contra Rouge Corps, coming to Nintendo Switch. And I watched the trailer, which was revealed during E3. If you know that big convention, what happens there, video games and everything gets released. But it's out there on YouTube as well. But it looks interesting. It's kind of that old school shoot 'em up. You got the different types of guns. I did see the spread, but it's all on a camera from behind the character, and you're on a flat plane in front of you, just destroying things. And they've got a couple different weird characters. There's an alien. There's a monkey or something. I don't know, a gorilla. It's kind of weird, but it looked gave me a little bit of that old Contra feeling watching the trailer.
Well, what didn't the skip levels, like the second level, fourth level, and all that, you were behind the character,
right?
In those rooms on a flat plane. And I never did like the spread gun. I was always a machine gun guy.
Oh, really?
I just like to hold in the button and just lay down a, path of bullets, a hail of gunfire in front of me. The most useless one was that swirling flame gun thing. No,
I would disagree. I think it's the one that's that just straight line laser gun, because I always wanted to hit that several times in a row, but unless you just hit it once and let it go across the screen, you can't really do it consecutively, It's not rapid fire.
I can see the point.
We can debate Contra later. My son was just playing it this week. We hooked up the Nintendo Mini to the big screen in the living room, and he was playing Contra and dying, and I'm just kind of holding my head in my hands watching. I was like, let the old man take over. Let me show you how this is done, man.
Did you put the code in for him?
Yes. Yeah.
There you go.
But he was still he probably spent 20 lives in the first level. I'm like, no. Anyway, all right. Well, we got another fun mashup I found this week. The WWE and Ghostbusters are teaming up with Mattel for a new action figure line. and it's featuring Stone Cold Steve Austin, John Cena, The Rock, Shawn Michaels, and a glow-in-the-dark Undertaker. I found this fun image of all the WWE characters in the Ghostbusters, uniforms over on gbnews.com.
Okay.
So I don't know. That seemed it's kind of forced, but still fun at the same time, I guess.
Yeah, forced is a good word. I was thinking about that, and then when you said you seen them in the outfits, okay. So it's the stars as the Ghostbusters, and then Undertaker is the Slimer, I guess. Or
I didn't see that. I didn't see that specific figure. I was thinking more along the lines of like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man or something. I don't know.
Oh well. That's still a stretch, though.
Yeah, it was a little bit weird. Okay, let's get into some movie news. Deadline reporting Paramount is pushing back Hasbro's G.I. Joe and Micronauts movies by about 7 months. The new release date for G.I. Joe is now October 16th of next year instead of March. And Micronauts is now June 4th of 2021. From October of next year. The G.I. Joe movie is rumored to be called Snake Eyes. I've seen that on several different sites. And it's, I guess, focusing more on him. But I don't know. I really, really think that Hasbro, Paramount, whoever's behind all this, need to capture a little bit of Bumblebee and kind of throw back G.I. Joe more towards the 80s and the, real American hero characters. Did you see Bumblebee?
No. And I've not watched either of the G.I. Joe movies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, as big of a fan as I am of G.I. Joe, I've stayed away from the movies. It just in the trailers, it didn't feel like my G.I. Joe, so I've just not had any interest in even checking them out.
Yeah, the second one is a little more, I guess, a little more towards the real American hero era, but it's still, I didn't care for the stories and just the way that they necessarily put it all together. But there's some fun action stuff, Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. You got some fun battles with them. But I would prefer that they try to throw it back a little more, make the characters a little more distinctable between each other. Because that was the big one I had with the first movie. They gave them these suits and they all kind of look the same. I'm like, no. The G.I. Joe characters all have their individual personalities and stuff, and you're kind of giving them this gray suit to all, use. I don't know.
Well, they suffer from the same problems that comic book movies did originally, that they tried to take comic book movies and set them too much in the real world. As far as, well, I'll even say the first X-Men movie that came out, where they're all in the matching suits and stuff.
Yeah. It was that feeling.
It wasn't until the current Marvel Universe movies where they're just like, you know what? We're going to take comic books and put them in the real world. We're not going to adapt to the real world. We got the colorful uniforms and the big action that we should have always had. But you think back to the movies, the crappy ones, the Dolph Lundgren Punisher. Not that I think that's crappy. I like that movie. But, the Captain America movie from 1990. Mm-hmm. It's Captain America and you're getting Steve Rogers, but you never really see him look like Captain America. So at some point, maybe these movies, the G.I. Joe movies and other 80s properties will just be like, you know what? Okay, Masters of the Universe is probably the best example that I'm trying to relate here.
Yeah, that's true.
If they make another Masters of the Universe movie, it ought to be just big, bulky, fur-loined He-Man in the modern world,
Yeah. Well, they are actually in process. They've chosen their He-Man. It's the choice was a little questionable unless he's going to pull a Robert Pattinson and bulk up before they start filming, which I think they're supposed to start filming either later this year or next year. But I don't know. Yeah.
Who'd they pick? Do you know?
I can't even remember the actor's name. He was in, crap, it's going to kill me now. I don't even think I saw the one thing that he's kind of known for.
Well, let's do this now. Speaking of Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
We talked about him being cast. We had a whole discussion about him being cast as Batman.
Right.
And I was a little wary of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if what I'm about to tell you makes me more wary of this movie or highly excited for this movie.
Okay.
There's news rumors circulating I've seen in the last 2 days about who they may be trying to cast as the Joker.
Oh, really? I have not heard this.
Do you want to take any kind of guess? Any kind of guess at all?
Well, I would assume it would be Joaquin Phoenix if they're making a Joker movie later this year.
No. This may blow your mind. It may not. It blew my mind. Macaulay Culkin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Culkin as the Joker.
Now, when I first read that, I'm like, are they nuts? But then I remembered all these images of him, these days where he just looks all, he's this weird grown up. That could work, actually.
Yeah. You could say he's gone like bat, crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
Over the last decade.
But here's my thought, though. If they're trying to make a serious major money grab Batman movie and they're casting Robert Pattinson and Macaulay Culkin to play Batman and Joker, I believe that may be the only film in that Batman franchise.
Well, see, and that's the thing. Like, even back in '89 when they cast Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson was such a huge name that it was like, okay, well, at least we're gonna have a bona fide star in this movie that will, even if you don't like the way that Mr. Mom is taking the character. But now you're like, oh, okay, you're having trouble seeing Pattinson as Batman. I can kind of get there with Culkin. I think it might be a good choice just for people's curiosity,
Possibly. But I would think Culkin would fit better maybe as somebody like the Riddler versus the Joker. Well, but that's just me. But I thought I'd pop that one out on you, see if you'd heard that.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I got to think about that a little bit more. Calling as the Joker, he's got kind of the smile.
Yeah, he does.
Now that I think about it, he's got that kind of long face, so I think it could work. All right, well, let's hop on to some other movie news here. This one was interesting to me. We had the Hollywood Reporter breaking the story that the 1988 Christmas film Scrooged, starring Bill Murray, you might remember, getting the remake treatment from Paramount and comedian Kevin Hart. No other details were revealed other than that they are searching for a scriptwriter now. But Kevin Hart and Scrooged, thoughts?
I'm if people listen to too many of these episodes, I'm going to lose my retro cred, but I never liked Scrooge to begin with Bill Murray.
Yeah.
I tried watching it. I've tried watching it 3 or 4 times. I just can't get into it.
It is, it's different. It's not my favorite, it's not my favorite Christmas Carol telling, of in a movie, but it's fun just because I guess it's Bill Murray, and everybody loved Bill Murray back in the day, and he was obviously my favorite Ghostbuster. So I like the movie, but I don't know if Kevin Hart's personality humor matches if they're trying to mirror exactly what they were doing in Scrooge, because it was darker, it was more, I don't know. It's like we were talking about with Batman in real life and it's more that real life story than a fantasy tale, that is usually a Christmas Carol. So I don't know. I don't necessarily see that. I'm not really excited for it or anything, but I don't know. It might just go a totally different direction with Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
So, all right.
It's hard to tell.
Moving right along, we'll go back to Hasbro. They've announced a wave of 90s style Uncanny X-Men figures that you might be excited for, Mickey. It's in their Marvel Legends 80th anniversary line. You get Wolverine, Silver Samurai, Cyclops, Dazzler Storm, and Iceman with accessories and on the old throwback style cards. So I thought that might be something you would be interested in. picking
Yeah,
up.
those cards or the figures were a little after my time of playing, but I would look at them in the store and like, man, those look really good. But it was still before I started actually collecting action figures and leaving them in the pack. So this would be my chance to, maybe go back and pick up on what I missed out on.
Yeah, they looked really cool, really bright card backs, and just stuff that you would, seemingly find in a KB toy store back in the day or something. And I only in the last 5 or 6 years I've really gotten into comics, so this is not my up my alley, I guess you'll say, but they looked really cool. Okay, well, let's go back over to Stranger Things for a minute. Den of Geek is reporting that Stranger Things is getting a Pokemon Go style mobile game next year. And it's going to blend like RPG and puzzle solving mechanics as well as like location based technology like they do for Pokemon Go. And you're going to be able to navigate the Upside Down on your mobile phone. So it's apparently it's not going to shy away any from the retro feel either. They're going to get that kind of in the app and some of that antiquated graphics that we love. Well, maybe not so much with the new Coke site, but I thought that was interesting that they're really pushing the Stranger Things brand now and trying to do, like an upside down world that you can find. I don't know what you're going to be finding. You're running away from the Demogorgon or something. But have you played Pokemon Go at all?
No, yeah. I hadn't.
I got into it for a little bit with my middle son there. He, huge Pokemon. We went to see the Pikachu movie here recently. Loves Pokemon. So we were playing that for a while. And it's fun. The Ghostbusters did actually something similar where you go around catching ghosts. Have not played that one, but I don't know. Anything Stranger Things, I'm like ready to try out. So, and this was interesting too. Again, back on Stranger Things, Burger King is having a promotion now with a Upside Down Whopper.
Yeah, I've seen that.
In partnership with Coke, and they're also looks like they're using some throwback packaging. But it sounds like they're trying to do kind of what New Coke did with these little pop-up upside down places where they had, machines where you could get New Coke. They're only doing it in 11 locations nationwide, Burger King is. Miami, Houston, Boston, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Dallas, Chicago, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and New York. And they're going to have like limited edition t-shirts and crowns and whatever, ketchup packets with the Stranger Things theme. So I didn't see they were using the throwback packaging, but I seen the picture. There's nothing special about the Whopper other than they're putting it top bun down before they wrap it up. So when you open it, it's upside down. Yeah. So it's not even that they were restacking the condiments to where the bottom would be the top, but no, it's just setting upside down in the wrapper, which is no big deal because all these kids at my local Burger King screw that up half the time anyway, and you get an upside down Whopper. But I would like to have the throwback packaging, though, to get one in and clean it up and maybe frame it or something and add it to the retro museum here. Right, and that's how they should have built this instead of just, here's an upside down Whopper. No, you should have showed us what they're going to do with these 11 locations, because that's what I imagine. They want you to have that experience, and with all this other stuff that they're going to have at each restaurant to get people, to want to go. They've done special Whoppers before, whatever that one was with the black bun that they did around Halloween. Whopper. Yeah. So they've done different things like that, but I don't know. It just seemed kind of weird that there was nothing special about the Whopper. It was just all the stuff around it. Anyway. Well, here's one. And again, this is the kind of gray area we go into with the Retro Network, where we're pop culture, past and present. And I guess this is kind of retro since the first movie, I think, was like 2001. But Fast and Furious is going animated thanks to Netflix and DreamWorks. And the new series will be called Fast and Furious Spy Racers and scheduled to be released sometime in 2019 with a teaser trailer now available on YouTube. The new animated series says teenager Tony Toretto falls in the footsteps of his cousin Dom when he and his friends are recruited by a government agency to infiltrate an elite racing league. So that's kind of your little synopsis there. But I don't know. Have you got into the Fast and Furious franchise?
Yeah, I really like the Fast and Furious franchise, but I preferred it more in the early movies where it was more down to earth, street racing and crime. Hell, now it's, they're stopping rogue Russian submarines, and I don't know what they can do next other than maybe they'll race on the moon or something. But It keeps getting bigger and bigger. And congratulations to everybody involved, because I would have never thought that they would have built this multi-billion-dollar franchise off of those first couple movies, but they have. So
more crazy with each one. I haven't really. I don't think I've watched the most recent one. I've probably watched each movie, the first one more than the others. But I finally, one of my little Father's Day presents was I went into our Big Lots, which I call Big R Lots now because they just moved into the old Toys R Us building. And they had the first 7 movies there for $10. That's the Blu-ray.
Whoa.
That's the Blu-ray and the digital copy for $10. I was like, I can't pass this up. And here's my good fortune lately. I told you about the double order on the new Coke. The inside, I got 2 cards with 2 different sets of digital codes for the movies. So I talked with our buddy Adam over there at Sequel Quest, and we're going to hook something up so they can give those digital copies away. Maybe coming up later this year with the they're probably going to go and review the Hobbs and Hobbs and Shaw and Shaw movie. So yeah, I was like, wow, I'm on a roll. Too bad we don't have like a state lottery here. I need to buy some lottery tickets. But
I'm going to throw something at you here related to Fast and Furious. This is not an original take. I read this a long time ago, but last weekend we watched Point Break. The 1990 movie, Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze. Fast and the Furious took everything from that movie and just changed the surfing to street racing. I mean, it is eerie, the undercover cop. And next time you watch either Fast and the Furious or Point Break, think about the other movie while you're watching it, and you'll see it's almost scene for scene in places.
Really?
And I don't know how much you remember about either movie, but in Point Break, when Keanu Reeves goes to meet Lori Petty's character, she works at that beachside restaurant, and he goes in there and meets her. In Fast and the Furious, Dom and Brian, they stop at this beachside restaurant to have lunch. Exact same location for both movies.
Really? No kidding.
Yeah, so they're actually tied together there too. But anyway, back on topic.
No, I have not. I've seen Point Break maybe twice in my lifetime. So it's not one. Yeah, I have not connected with that one. So I'm going to do that before I start binging movies 1 through 7. I'm going to go watch Point Break first, and then I'm going to go right into the Fast and Furious series, and we'll see how close they are. That's interesting.
They are eerily close.
And I've never thought about that. All right, well, to wrap up our recurrent events, I decided to inject a few anniversaries coming up this week, just in like movies, TV, music, just so we can kind of reflect and see what we remember about each one. On June 13th is the 40th anniversary of the Cars album, Candy O. How big of a Cars fan are you?
Take them or leave them.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I was big into the Cars. I've said this on other podcasts, but I'm more of a greatest hits. I was subjected to the greatest hits back in the day, and that was just because back when we had, BMG and Columbia House and all that, I went for all the greatest hits albums on my, 12 for a penny or whatever it was back in the day. So I'm kind of a victim of those. So I went for the Cars greatest hits. and never really owned any of the full albums as they were until, I don't know, the last few years when I've gone back and started collecting vinyl. So as far as Candy O goes, you know, Let's Go, I mean, that's a great song that's on there. I think that leads off the album. I have not really gotten into that full album as much as like Heartbeat City. So, you know, Cars, it's one of those victims of my my greatest hits collection. But I know there's a lot. That's what I love about going back now and collecting as well, is if you're collecting the full albums, it's almost like new music to you when you hear the album cuts, you know, and you're not listening to the hits. So that's where I am with kind of my take on music with these albums back in the day that I just didn't have. And when I wanted to start collecting some from those artists, it was always the top 40 stuff.
Yeah, I bought a lot of greatest hits things there in that same time frame through the 90s and early 2000s from BMG, like you said. And then you get 12 for $1, and then the next one costs you $37.
Right. Yeah. You're stuck for that for a year. You got to pay 12 that are $37. Anyway, little TV anniversary on June 11th. This is going to be the 25th anniversary of Hulk Hogan signing with WCW.
Wow.
From WWF. So, yeah, that was actually a live event that they had on WCW Saturday night. So I don't.
I remember.
You remember
that
watching that?
I do. He's riding in a red and yellow Dodge Viper with Mean Gene in a ticker tape parade through Disney World. Yeah, that was a big deal in wrestling. Everybody talks about the Monday Night Wars that would come later. I'd call that the first shot in the Monday Night Wars, because without Hogan coming to WCW, there wouldn't have been any Monday Night Wars.
Right, which the NWO formed and all that, and was reason why that they were really competitive. Right. So, all right, here's a few movie anniversaries.
Whoa.
Oh, go ahead.
You're missing a major TV event.
Okay.
June 11th, 25th anniversary of Hulk Hogan. June 12th, 25th anniversary of the O.J. Simpson car chase on TV.
Oh, yes, that's true.
That was a major happening. That outdrew the Super Bowl that year by a mile, didn't it?
Oh, I'm sure it did. He was on like every channel. And they cut into like the NBA Finals and had the car chase like picture in picture with the NBA Finals, or maybe it was the opposite. I don't know. They were kind of going back and forth.
Well, we've talked before about the ESPN 30 for 30 documentaries.
Oh, that's perfect, because I was just going to mention that too. That one that's just based on that day.
Yes, that is fantastic.
And they don't interview anybody. This is the beauty of that documentary. It's probably one of my favorites, if not the favorite in the 30 for 30s. They just show news clips, and they give you a timeline starting at the beginning of the day, which is like, I think Arnold Palmer's last round, or one of the last rounds he's playing in the U.S. Open. And then you're going through, hockey, the NHL finals,
NHL finals, NBA finals. There was a whole bunch of stuff going on that day.
Was it World Cup soccer? Day. Yeah, I mean, it was.
Yeah, I believe it was.
But it just takes you throughout the course of that day and interjects the OJ stuff in between. Awesome documentary. Yeah. Awesome. Very good. Okay. Yeah, that was a major oversight.
Well, that's one of those things where you talk about when Kennedy was assassinated or 9/11. That event, people usually remember where they were that day. Yeah. Do you remember where you were, what you were doing the day of the OJ chase?
I was in my mom's apartment in the living room watching the NBA Finals, and that's when they cut in, and I just got exposed to it there.
We were camping. We kept a camper at a campground, and we had a little television. It only had an antenna for channels, but everybody around us in the campground gathered in our camper for hours and stood around while we're out enjoying the wilderness. Everybody's in the camper watching TV that night, watching the OJ chase.
Wow.
So that was a big event.
It was a very big event in TV. All right. We're going to jump on to a few movie anniversaries. June 15th is the 40th for Rocky II.
Awesome movie.
very good. Maybe, probably my favorite is Rocky 4.
Yes.
That's just if I'm gonna watch a Rocky, I would pick that one first, and probably 2. Well, probably the first one next, and then maybe 2. But
no, you got to
2 is great.
I like all the Rocky movies. Even Rocky 5 gets bashed a lot, but it's still a Rocky movie. I still like it. Yeah, Rocky 4 though, man, that's hard to beat as a red-blooded American. You got to love Rocky 4.
Yeah. June 16th is the 30th anniversary for Ghostbusters 2. Small little plug. I just did a podcast with Chad over at the Horror Movie Barbecue and Sean from Brandon in the 80s talking Ghostbusters 2. Cool. That was fun. We've got a couple things coming up too. We'll mention in the final segment for Ghostbusters 2 on the Retro Network. June 15th, 25th anniversary of The Lion King. Did not watch that until I think it came to video.
I did not watch that until I had kids. So
yeah. I think I remember watching it in high school, like rental or something. And then finally, the 20th, and I'm just throwing this one out here, maybe on a personal note, but June 18th is the 20th for The General's Daughter. If you remember that one with John Travolta. This one is very vivid in my memory because the next day, June 19th, after it came out, I proposed to my wife. I took her to see that movie. We went out to dinner and got down right on one knee right there at the dinner table.
Wow.
When I gave her birthday card. So, yep, her birthday is June 19th. So,
well, that's a cool story.
That movie is just ingrained in our history. Our family.
Well, remind me when we film this for the week of the 4th of July to tell you about my proposal story.
Okay.
We'll incriminate some local law enforcement officers, and we'll tell it all for the first time.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Well, coming up is our TRN Hotline interview with Chris Tanski. I hope you'll enjoy that with some more Batman talk, and we will be right back for our topic discussion on throwback drinks right after that interview. So stick around. Hey everyone, it is Jason again, and I got some great feedback last week on the Adam West clip, so I've decided we are going to feature a clip of the week during our podcast. And this week, since we are talking throwback drinks, I thought it'd be fun to go back to 1985 and listen to the news report from CBS News on the release of New Coke. So, hope you enjoy.
Coca-Cola is about to announce what it calls the most significant development in its history. James McManus reports.
The formula for Coca-Cola is called Merchandise 7X, a recipe so secret that it's locked inside this Atlanta bank vault, so successful that it's been tinkered with, but never dramatically changed in nearly 100 years. But tomorrow, Coca-Cola Company will tell a thirsty world it's putting a smoother, sweeter taste into the most instantly recognizable bottle in the world.
This has got to be the boldest consumer product move of any kind, of any stripe, since Eve started to hand out apples.
We started producing it today.
This is the new Coca-Cola, already taste tested in Memphis, Tennessee. The new formula is also a secret, but it's essentially the same as the extremely popular Diet Coke, but sweetened with corn syrup.
I believe it'll do for brand Coca-Cola what Diet Coca-Cola did for the diet market.
Coke is still it, the nation's favorite, but the phenomenal success of Diet Coke and similar soft drinks has helped cut 2.5 points off Coke's market share in just 4 years.
Well, 1 percentage point of market share in the soft drink industry is generally believed to be $250 million, approximately.
What is it?
I have no idea.
Number 2 Pepsi-Cola says Coke is merely trying to match Pepsi's success.
These two products, Pepsi and Coke, have been going at it eyeball to eyeball. And in my view, the other guy just blinked.
Coca-Cola is ready to launch a nationwide advertising blitz, and the company already has sent its bottlers a video pep rally in the War of the Colas.
So let's let her rip.
Let's land on the beaches and go all the way.
It's a kick, it's a hit, it's a Coca-Cola.
James McManus, CBS News, Atlanta.
Your dial tone to the past. It's the TRN Hotline.
Hello, everyone. This is Jason on the TRN Hotline. Thanks for joining us. And I have a special guest ready to dive into Batman 89 as we have been for the month of June. He is what I would call probably a movie guru. And probably, if I had to guess, maybe IMDb uses him as a resource. He is Chris Tanski. How are you, Tank?
Good. How are you, Jason?
I'm doing fine. We go back.
Best introduction ever. Thank you.
Well, as movies go, that's what I'm saying. You've got your own Hall of Fame. I know you've got like spreadsheets and journals and everything else.
I do. Yes.
On all the movies you've seen over the years. So, who better to get involved in a movie conversation? But
there you go.
We go back several years. Tank was actually one of my first guests on the old Rediscover the 80s podcast.
Yeah.
Tank had his own movie podcast for a while, the title pending. I love listening to that. And still get around. You've been on Corey's show, the Chapper.
Corey's show, yep. And my co-workers and I, we do a show called Saturday Night Rewind, which is just my Fright Rags crew, and we discuss pop culture things, and it's a blast.
Well, we'll definitely give you a link for that for coming on. But just wanted to get you on because I thought I remember years ago when we were podcasting, or maybe listening to you when you were on Underscoop Fire, that Batman 89 was a pretty big deal for you, and you went multiple times to the theater. Is that correct?
That is correct, which is pretty crazy because I was not allowed to drive then, so it's trying to find a relative to take me or to go with me.
Right, begging friends' moms to.
Yes.
So, what do you remember about that summer and how this Batman impacted everything around us?
Well, of course, the trailer debuts and you're freaking out, and as most people know, this is pre-internet, so you had to find other means, whether it be Entertainment Tonight or just going to a lot of movies to see the trailer. But, it's a different world now with blockbuster movies, but back then it was such an event to go see these summer movies.
Right.
And obviously Batman was the most anticipated at the time. So
sounds like you got some Batman fans there.
There's a lineup. Yeah.
still in line for the movie. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Like, I'm diving into a little piece on Bat Dance and how that's the first song I remember interjecting like movie clips into the actual song, and how much it was almost like our YouTube back then. We didn't get a chance to go to YouTube and watch the trailer over and over or see movies. We had to watch like Siskel and Ebert or Entertainment Tonight to get our movie clips. So hearing them on the radio, right?
Record button, yeah.
So yeah, not having to rewind or whatever, but hearing it on the radio every day just hyped it even more, I think, even beyond the merchandise.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you jump into the merchandise, that was just insanity as it is. So,
yeah, it's weird because I remember seeing a ton of movies in '89, but I don't have a specific memory around seeing Batman. But I know a lot of people, they had the little catalog that came.
Yes.
Walked in, and you had all of the merchandise in the catalog to review before you watched the movie.
It's like, what should I? You circle them, and it's funny. One of the models in the catalog is Heather Langenkamp, who's who's popular for the Freddy Krueger film series. Another favorite of mine.
Yeah, and I think Bob Kane's in it too, right?
Yes, he is. Yep.
So
rocking those awful Batman or awesome, depending on your fashion proclivity.
Oh man, it was just a different era, and how that just I think I mentioned to Ben on the last Hotline interview that the marketing people should have their own like Hall of Fame. It's the way way it all played out. But I guess just give me your impressions of maybe the movie as a kid or teenager, and how it's maybe changed or maybe stayed the same since 30 years have passed.
And even though we've gotten better Batmans, it still holds up. We still constantly go back to the 1989 Batman, and Michael Keaton usually is still our favorite incarnation, even though something like Christian Bale or Ben Affleck brought their own to the role. But Michael Keaton will always be our Batman.
I would definitely agree with that, and even go a step further with Jack Nicholson as the Joker. Too.
I love how we've gotten many different variations of the Joker. Me personally, Heath Ledger knocked it out of the park, but Jack Nicholson's a close second, if not sometimes after you've watched his performance, he moves into the number one slot. But we've been blessed, I guess, is what I'm going to say. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I think it was even Mickey that said it's two kind of different characters where, Jack Nicholson's more that comic booky type Joker, and Heath Ledger was more like the anarchist. Yeah. So, even though they're two great performances, it's almost a little bit different personality.
You can't compare.
Yeah.
Apples
to
playing
oranges.
The same role. It's hard to compare. Even Cesar Romero, we've got Clown Prince version.
Right.
It's just awesome. But this was back in a time where you didn't really do midnight movies. My mom and dad brought me to the midnight screening here in Rochester at the General Cinema Marketplace, and it was a big deal to go to the midnight shows because how old was I then? About 13. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, my parents would have never let that. I remember having to call them to go see Back to the Future 2 because the 7:00 showing was sold out, and we wanted to stay for the 9:15 show or whatever 9:30 it was.
Please.
Yeah, please let us stay. Yeah. Anyway,
my dad was a real cinephile, so that's how I got into movies. He would bring me to everything back then. Stuff I probably shouldn't have been going to see, your horror films and such, but he knew I could handle them. But he was just as excited as I was.
Gotcha. Have you still collected some Batman 89 stuff over the years? Do you have anything from back in the day that you might have kept?
I wish I still had that pamphlet thing, but I don't. I have the trading cards. A buddy of mine for Christmas a couple of years ago, he's a real avid Batmobile collector, so he gave me one of his extra 89 Batmobile toys from I think it was Toy Biz that released them.
Nice.
I've got that. I forget who the company was, but it might have been NECA. But that huge giant Michael Keaton Batman toy. I have that. We put on I do a film series here with my company Fright Rags at a local movie house, and we try and put on 35 millimeter showings of stuff. And we did Batman one year, so we had an artist named Christopher Franchi. If you're not familiar with him, looking up, just Google Franchi Batman. He did this amazing Batman art with Keaton and Nicholson and the Batmobile. He does pinball games as well. And he's done some Batman ones. But I keep an eye out for certain things from that movie just because it does have a special place in my heart. When we did another screening at a local movie house here, and I met up with Corey from Underscoop Fire and Chatty Young, and I had I don't know how I got them. It might have been a convention, but I had 15 Batman pins. So to commemorate the screening, I gave a bunch of them the pins. So I guess we're in a club or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I've got a few vintage things. I love the little Ertl diecast.
Oh,
toy.
Yes.
They did some with Batman Returns as well, with the little figurines.
With the duck and
Yeah. So I've got a few of those, and I've got a Bob the Goon on card. That's the only figure I have from that whole line, just Bob the Goon.
I think everybody has a Bob the Goon.
All right. Oh, well, I guess as just kind of a conclusion, what some of your favorite scenes or characters or anything like that you are just waiting to get to when you're watching the movie now?
I mean, the sequence on top of the roof where he does find the two bums, the two thieves, where he reveals himself who he is. I mean, that's probably one of the more quotable lines. I'm Batman. Just pulling him in and just, I mean, Shield. I love that part when his Batmobile gets the. Just, you know what's weird? It's all the lines from Bat Dance.
Right.
Lawrence. Yep. Yeah.
Stop. Yep.
Yeah. With the laugh. Yeah.
Yep.
Just to be able to quote that song makes other people annoyed, but I love the fact that I can recite that whenever it's playing.
Yeah, it's I'm kind of the same way too. It all kind of ties into that the clips from Bat Dance, except for like maybe you want to get nuts, let's get nuts. You know, I love that meme. You know, with him
where they're
at the
the grocery store.
At the store, yeah. Oh my gosh, I want to high five whoever came up with that. But, yeah. Oh man, it's just I love it. I missed it in the re-release last month. We were doing
so did I.
And I wanted to go back and watch it so bad, just on the big screen, but didn't get a chance to do that. But maybe in 10 years for the 40th or whatever. Yeah, you know, Batman was just such a that summer, man. I just love thinking about that summer between that and, you know, Ghostbusters, Indiana Jones.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Yeah. The Weapon 2. Young Einstein. What?
Yeah. It was just kind of more of it's the summer I remember going to see probably the most movies I ever had at that.
Everything, yeah.
The Burbs. I think The Burbs was earlier in the year, like March or something, but I remember going to see The Burbs as well. So just that whole summer and Batman just being the tentpole there, you know, it was just a great summer for movies.
Let me see. I have a list because I have. Well, right now I'm trying to watch 84 movies from 84, but I had it in the back of my head that I would try and watch a bunch of 89 movies since it's the 30th. Christmas Vacation, Back to the Future 2, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Dead Poets Society, Last Crusade, Lean on Me, License to Kill, Look Who's Talking was in 89. Roadhouse, Hey Anything, Sick, Steel Magnolias, Tango and Cash, The Burbs, Karate Kid Part 3.
Yes, Karate Kid.
The Wizard, Weekend at Bernie's, Turn Hooch. It was definitely an awesome year for films. Yeah.
I think talking with a lot of people, 84 and 89 are kind of those years that people put up there with like their favorite year of the 80s to see movies.
You could do that with everything from the 80s. I'm going to try and do this again with 85. So you look at those and you're like, oh wow, this was such a great year. Oh, this was a great year. So
just depends on what you're watching currently, like you said. Yeah,
right.
That's
why we celebrate the decade.
Right. Yeah. This year it's like 30 and 35th, and then in 5 years we'll be going back to the 40th, and it's just every 5 years we start celebrating, every year, just whatever the 30th is. But yeah, okay, well, great, man. I appreciate your time, and
it's always fun to talk. It's good to hear from you.
Yes, same to you. And we'll make sure to get a link up there to everything you're a part of. Do you want to throw it out there again, where people can find you?
Well, I work for a company called Fright Rags. It's www.fright-rags.com. We do pop culture T-shirts, but mainly stuff from horror films. And then we have our podcast, which is called the Saturday Night Rewind. And we just discuss all things pop culture. But then we also, here locally in Rochester, New York, we do a film series where we watch a lot of these old movies we're discussing on 35 millimeter.
And you're still the Polish Phenom.
Yes, on Twitter, yes. Polish Phenom, but the O's are zeros. So that's that.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time again, Tank, and good to catch up with you again. And we will be right back after this.
It's a light of night. It's doing it right. It's a hit. It's a Coke. Coke is it. A taste that's true. It is me. It is you. A slam, a shout. It's a new way to see. It'll shake up the world. It's the way it should be. It's just how you feel when you know it's for real. It's a kick, it's a hit, it's a Coke. Coke is it.
All right, Jason and Mickey back with you for our topical discussion this week, and just this whole new Coke talk. Got the wheels turning, and we decided we're going to talk about some throwback drinks. Now, I'm going to lean on you a little bit, like I said earlier, because I'm telling you, man, I had so many checked off my list to come back in the last 3 years that I'm running out of drinks that I want to come back. Because we had, Ecto Cooler when we had the new Ghostbusters. We got that. Got those fun little, I was lucky enough to get one of those little promo packs in the mail of that. We had just last year Crystal Pepsi, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Also last year was one that I remember a lot of from my childhood, Jolt Cola.
Right.
Came back.
I believe it's still available, isn't it?
It is. It's still at Dollar General. That was one that I was really disappointed in. I was like, oh, no.
It didn't.
When I tried it.
Yeah. The appeal of that one was gone. Like I said, you take a drink and it's like, the flavor's not all that great.
Yeah.
But I'm just happy in the fact that something from our childhood is available when and if we want it. That's the whole point.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I'm grateful it's back. They even sent me a little Jolt Cola lunchbox with some goodies inside when that came out. So I was very grateful for that and to try it a little bit earlier than everybody else. But just for some reason didn't measure up to my expectations. And then another big one for me that I remember my grandmother having all the time was New York Seltzer.
Oh,
and that came back a couple years ago. That's still available if you go to World Market. I've gone back there, got some black cherry and some of my favorite flavors just this year. So, yeah, I mean, there's 4 or 5 right there. Surge. Remember Surge? That came back a few years ago. I was big into Mountain Dew, and that one was, kind of like the Coke version, other than Mellow Yellow. But yeah, so we've gotten a lot back these last few years. I'm excited. So I guess what's on your list to come back that you would love to taste again?
Well, these things have come back, but when I say we want drinks to come back, I want them to come back to stay. I may not buy Ecto Cooler every week, but I want to have the option that when I want Ecto Cooler, I can go get Ecto Cooler. I mean, it's great when they bring it back for a limited time, but I want it back all the time. Surge, yeah, we took advantage of Surge coming back. We took advantage of Jolt coming back. Crystal Pepsi last year. I've had a lot of fun introducing the kids to some of these old drinks and getting their opinions on them. Letting them each drink one of the tall cans of Jolt was a mistake that I won't make again. But
double the sugar, twice the caffeine. Yep.
Right. New York Seltzer was a good one. I'm not sure if I ever liked it or not, but I drank it because in the summertime, and a lot of times I get dropped off at my grandmother's house, and she only lived about a half a mile from the local grocery store. And I had a lot of cousins, and if we went together, she would let us walk down to the grocery store and hang around. And it seemed like we'd always go by. They sold individual bottles of the New York Seltzer. I remember getting the black cherry and things. So that's more of just a nostalgia point in time for me. But I was a big fan of Slice soft drink. Who was it? Was it Pepsi? Pepsi that made Slice?
I want to say that's correct.
Which, if that is the case, then we probably wouldn't get it back because they're always pushing their Sierra Mist. But Slice was really cool because it was like your 7-Up or Sprite. But they also done other flavors of Slice. I remember Apple Slice.
Yes.
Did you ever have the Apple Slice?
Yes.
It's like carbonated apple juice. Gosh, that stuff was good.
They did a bunch of fruit flavors, if I do remember, like orange and maybe even cherry. They also had, I want to say they also had like cherry cola or something too with Slice. Like they did cola flavors or something.
They might have. I remember the orange and the cherry. I had forgotten all about the orange until you just mentioned it, though. But yeah, I think that was actually my favorite of the slice varieties.
Yeah, and it lasted. I mean, it was mainly a thing in the 80s. I remember all the commercials where it's like water being splashed, like the baseball players are throwing a baseball and there's like water coming from the guy's arm, and it was some weird commercials, but it was mainly an 80s thing. But I think it came back it might have been replaced by Sierra Mist, if I do remember right, but I don't know.
One that I really liked from the 90s was Vanilla Pepsi. I liked it way more than Vanilla Coke. And then it went away forever.
Mm-hmm.
But I just recently, without any fanfare, I saw Vanilla Pepsi on the shelf, at my local grocery store. Maybe it never went away. Maybe they just quit selling it in my area. I don't know, but I got to pick some of that up soon.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. Maybe it was because we got that orange vanilla Coke and they started making some more, but I didn't like have you tried orange vanilla Coke?
I did. That was not good at all.
No, you couldn't taste the Coke. It was too much orange and vanilla, at least to me, to even call it Coke.
I had the opposite reaction because I had bought the orange vanilla Coke Zero. To me, it just tasted more like Coke Zero with some kind of nasty aftertaste. I was like, where's the orange vanilla flavor? I didn't think there was enough flavor in it, but I didn't try the actual Coke version of it, though. And I made the mistake. I bought a 12-pack of it, and I drank half of a can. I'm like, yeah, we can just give this to Goodwill or something, but I'm not going to drink the rest of that. My kids didn't even like it. When kids turn down soda of any kind, it's not good.
That's true. Now,
we had bought it. Actually, I had bought it because my daughter's YouTube channel where we do food reviews, we were going to review it. And I was thirsty one day. I was cheating. Usually we don't try anything before we try it on video, but I took a drink of that. We never did review it on film because it was just that bad.
Wow.
Yeah, we're not opening another can of that junk.
Now, see, when we go to the movie theater, and I let my oldest get the drink out of the the Coke machine with all the flavors and everything. He comes back with this Skittles Coke, I call it. It's just, he'll get a suicide of all the different flavors and then dump Coke on top of it. And I'm just like, no, dude.
Well, you just said a suicide. I'm glad to know there are people of my age who also called them suicides.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because that was the big thing. You would go to the fast food place with your folks or whatever, and you'd just be putting a little bit of everything in your cup.
Yeah.
We called it a suicide.
We did that after our Little League games at the concession stand when you won, or I don't know if everybody on the team, both teams got a free drink, but we were like, suicide, yep.
My kids, they go to the local skating rink a lot, and they were talking about these drinks called graveyards. And I was like, well, what the heck is a graveyard? And she's like, it's where you mix all the flavors. I'm like a suicide? And she said, like a what? so they call
graveyard and suicide.
They call them graveyards. We call them suicides. But that's something that needs to come back. Every adult who done that as a child, rekindle that childhood spirit one time when you go out to somewhere. Just mix you a drink and drink one for old time's sake. That needs to come back.
I don't know if I can do it, man. See, I don't necessarily go for the sodas. I kind of hang in that sweet tea and lemonade world for a while, and then once in a while I'll get a soda. So when I want something, I want a Pepsi. I don't want weird stuff. But
my kids like them though.
Yeah. You were telling me you had a fun little review with Cheerwine. Now, that kind of got my wheels turning because we never had that up north, and I'm kind of a hybrid. I'm like a Southern fried Yankee because I grew up in the north, and then I've spent probably half my life up there and half my life in the south, and I had never heard of Cheerwine until I got down here.
Well, Cheerwine is made in Salisbury, North Carolina, and it is a Southern regional thing. I mean, maybe that's by design, or maybe it's just as far as they've been able to take their distribution. But it's a dark cherry cola,
right?
And it beats cherry Coke, and it beats wild cherry Pepsi. To me, it beats any other cherry soft drink there's been. And they go back to the early 1900s. They actually are the oldest soft drink in America that is still owned and produced by the original family who started.
Oh wow!
So they have some history behind them.
Very
People who
cool.
are not familiar, if you're above, I want to say West Virginia, or you're west of Tennessee, you've probably not seen Cheerwine, but you can go to cheerwine.com and they'll send you Cheerwine if you want to pay for it. they sell the, you can buy the 6-packs, 12-packs. It's better out of the glass bottle. Matter of fact, we was talking start of the show about the arcade in Johnson City and their glass bottles. They had Cheerwine in glass bottles, and that's what the kids and I all had to drink, were glass bottles of Cheerwine.
I remember the first time I came south, I was visiting a bunch of colleges with this group, and we stopped at the college I went to in Northeast Georgia. And for the night that we were there, a couple of days, I was in the dorms with a couple guys that were actually, I think, from Ohio. And that night they came in and they were like, okay, everybody's gathering around. It's time for the Cheerwine. And it was weird. I thought they were like breaking out like actual wine or something. And this is like a religious college. So I was like, oh my gosh, I got like the guys with the contraband here. So they all like sit around in a circle and they pull out this 2-liter from their mini fridge of Cheerwine. And they all just kind of like do this weird little ritual, and they open the top and they like pass it around and have everybody smell it. And it was just the weirdest like hippie almost moment that I was like, okay, are we going to do like a little seance or meditate or something after all this? And then they just kind of pass it around. We drank Cheerwine.
You do need to pay respects when you open a bottle of Cheerwine. I mean, it's that good.
It was good, yeah.
After the review, they sent me a trucker hat and a big, nice bumper sticker with their logo on it as a thank you. So,
I got Joe Cola sent me a lunchbox and like tube socks, which I will wear in the wintertime.
Another soft drink that most people probably haven't heard of because it was made locally up here in West Virginia was, I put this on Twitter a while back asking if anybody remembered it, but Rocky Top was the name of the soda.
We had Rocky Top in PA. Yes,
we did.
We did, yep.
My experiences with it was my uncle, who was also our neighbor, worked for Reynolds Aluminum, who they made all the cans for Rocky Top. And every spring or early summer, all the employees were offered this fantastic deal. I can't tell you what the deal was at this point, but it was a good enough deal that everybody in the family would give him money and stock their homes with Rocky Top soda for the summer. Of course, they came packed in 6-packs, and you got 4 6-packs in what they would call a flat in a case. Mm-hmm. So you got 24 cans. So we would get at one time, 2 cases of cola, and then we would get 1 case of all their other flavors. And they had a lot of flavors, if you remember. They had diet, but we never got diet. But we got orange, we got cherry, we got grape. They had vanilla, they had black cherry, they had lemon lime, root beer, cream soda. Mm-hmm. They had a red cream soda. And we would keep all this out in a utility room off of our carport, and we'd just stock the fridge with some when we needed it. But all summer long, we were drinking Rocky Top because of it had to be some kind of incredible price. Because my uncle, for the whole family, he would have to put the cattle racks up on his pickup truck and bring an entire truck bed stacked up as high as the cab full of cases. Well, I would say it had to be an incredible deal they offered once a year, and we always took advantage of it. So I really miss Rocky Top. I see pictures of cans of Rocky Top, and it takes me back to like those summers in the late 80s of sitting around reading old comic books and drinking a nice cold can of black cherry Rocky Top.
Oh, man. That sounds great right about now. Yeah, I remember getting 6-packs of Rocky Top, and later on, speaking of the bottles, I don't know if they still make it, but Sioux City makes a root beer, cream soda, birch beer. You ever had birch beer?
Oh, yeah. I'm a big Sioux City fan.
Okay. I remember back in the day, they had the glass bottles. There was like a cowboy or something on the side. Right. We would get like 6-packs of those. And fun story, we were out driving one night. I was in my buddy Wyatt's car, and forgot to turn on his headlights, but he had his fog lights on, and the cops pulled us over, and we got 2 bottles of Sioux City Birch beer in the console, and he looks down, and he's like, is that root beer? I was like, yes, sir. We both like handed him the bottle for him to smell, you know.
No, what's the matter with you? You can't tell the difference in birch beer and root beer?
You fellows sucking back on Grandpa's cough medicine.
That's we just watched that. I just showed that to the kids 2 weeks ago. For
you
people who don't
pie
know,
haircutted freaks.
Yeah, for people who don't know, that's a great scene from Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, that was the moment that we had, except, you know, it wasn't actually piss in the bottles.
Well, I am a root beer connoisseur. My favorite Sioux City is the Sioux City Sarsaparilla, because it's really a root beer, but it is one of the richer tasting root beers you'll find. It is really, really good. Now I don't know if you still have them where you're at, but we can still get Sioux City here, but they're in 4-packs of glass bottles these days instead of the 6-packs.
Big Lots carries some like cream sodas and root beers and stuff. I don't think it's Sioux City, but I know I've gotten some ones there. I'm like, oh, wow, okay, let me try this. And they're in the bottles, like the 4-pack bottles, like IBC makes. But yeah, I don't think we get Sioux City down here.
Something else that's come back recently at our local grocery store, we've got a chain here called Food City, and Steve Smith that owns it must be a retro lover at heart like us, because all these locally made food brands from my entire life had all went out of business. Well, he went around starting about, 15 years ago and buying the old defunct brands and reopening and making his own, what would normally be considered private label, but it's the label we all grew up with, like Kern's Bread. He bought Kern's Bread. He bought Terry's Potato Chips, Kay's Ice Cream. He just brought back, within the last month in their stores, Faygo soda. I'm sure everybody's had Faygo. So we now have access to Faygo Moon Mist and Faygo Cola, and there's some new flavors that I don't remember. Cotton candy.
Oh, wow.
There were some other flavors the kids have bought, and something else from my childhood that's fell out of popularity since then. You can get them in 3-liter bottles again.
Oh,
Faygo
nice.
3 liters. So the kids have been enjoying their first foray into the world of Faygo here in the last month.
I will see 3 liters at, I think it's at Dollar Tree. They have their whatever brand of soda it is, they have in 3 liters. And
well, you know that's a winner.
You're right. But just the fact that they're still bottling in 3 liters is really what caught my eye.
Yeah, the problem with the 3 liters back then was they would go flat before you could drink them all. And my mother, this didn't come from QVC, but she was one of these people who just wants everything she sees on QVC. We bought these replacement caps for 3 liters that had the pump handle on it. That when you put this lid back on it, you'd pump air back into it.
Right, it kind of sealed it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we had those for every 3-liter bottle in the fridge.
I remember something just came to mind. I remember these like round rubber discs that you could buy to open your like sodas and whatever was bottled. I think I think it came through like what was it, Avon or something my mother sold, and we just have these like random they look like coasters, but they were like rubber and almost looked like a whoopee cushion, you know.
Yeah.
That you would use to we had those laying around the house. I don't know where she got those.
Something to help you get a grip, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, that just came to mind. But all right, well, you got anything more you want to throw out there for our drinks?
I won't throw out any memories of them, but some people may be bad if we don't mention their favorites. A lot of people would like to see Pepsi, the holiday mix or holiday spice or whatever.
Yep.
Pepsi Blue, people still talk about.
Pepsi Blue, yeah. Pepsi Blue, I remember. Oh, this was back when we were in Georgia, probably early 2000s was when that came out, right? We were at the Mall of Georgia, and they had this like stage or something set up and it was like covered in Pepsi Blue stuff. I remember that being like a big deal. What was that, like raspberry, like blue raspberry?
Yeah, it was some kind of berry flavor.
I don't know. It was all right, I guess, but I just that memory kind of stuck out to me when the Pepsi was really pushing it, you know.
A lot of people still talk today about Orbits. I never did care for Orbits myself, but I couldn't get over the
drinking
little
Orbits.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
I've seen pictures. I've just never remember seeing it in the stores or having it.
Nantucket Nectars was another one. I think that may have been more regional, but what was the other one everybody still talks? Oh, Sobe. I remember being big on Sobe in the late 90s.
Never really big on that one. Clearly Canadian was another one that came back just in the last couple of years now that I remember of that. And what was the other one I was just trying to think of? Oh, what about that bubblegum soda that was back in that? I think it was in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
I see that picture on all the time running around the web.
Lifesavers soda, too.
Yes. Oh, my gosh. I forgot about that.
Man, that stuff was ultra sweet.
That was like, pure. It was like pure syrup.
and one last drink. It's not a soft drink. We've talked about it before, but Zima. It came back last year.
That's right. It did. Yep.
But Zima is still fondly remembered by women and unmanly men of the 90s everywhere.
Yeah, it was kind of that what I would call frou-frou type of drink.
I got a kid that works for me. He was talking about what was it he said? He was throwing some kind of party last week, and he's 19 years old. He shouldn't even be drinking. But he said, "Yeah, I can't wait to get me a 6-pack of Mike's Hard Lemonade and get toasted." I said, "Mike's Hard Lemonade, huh? That's what my wife used to drink."
Seagram's. Give him a 6-pack of Seagram's wine coolers.
Hey, man, now I could go for some Bartles and James or some Seagram's wine coolers.
Bartles and James. Thank you for your support. All right. Yeah, let's end with that. That's a good little note there. We thank you for your support of the Retro Network and our podcast. But we will be back here shortly to wrap things up and give you a little taste of what's to come. So stay right there.
What's the matter, Wilbur?
They changed my Coke.
Something wrong with it?
I know, they sure changed it.
Coulda asked.
What coulda? I stuck with them through 3 wars and a couple of dust storms, but this is too much. Guess something big made them change.
Right big.
Right big. Pepsi, the choice of a new generation.
Still coulda asked.
All right, Jason and Mickey back for our final segment here and what's coming up on the Retro Network and maybe some stuff you might have missed in this past week.
So people we've been talking about it all month here on the pod and on the main site, the retronetwork.com, 1989's Batman. We had some more great Batman memories drop. Michael with his Batmania revisiting 1989's Batman was a really, really fun look back at his experiences with the movie. And Stacy's Summer of Batman was really good. She looked more at the paraphernalia that went along with the movie, and I was going through her piece and like, yeah, I seen it. Yeah, I had that. Yes, I wanted that. I didn't have it, but seen it. So a lot of 89 Batman talk last week, and some more coming up this week. The guys at Sequel Quest just went and checked out the new Dark Phoenix, and they've put an episode reviewing that up. I haven't got to listen to that yet. I'm saving it for the car trip tomorrow. I can tune everybody in the vehicle out and just listen to that. We've been talking about the old drinks up on the site right now. Several of us got together and talked about some old snacks that we miss. Retro Roundtable, foods we missed.
I think I picked Sliced Soda for that one.
Yes, you did. You did. What else was this past week as people are hearing this?
Yeah, just a quick note on the Sequel Quest. We got a plan to release some of their archive as rewind episodes, and I think the plan is to release their Tim Burton Batman sequel pretty soon, and then we're going to release their Ghostbusters sequel episode as well, I think the following week. and I just put a fun little article together on the comic book adaptation of Ghostbusters 2, which will hopefully release about the same time. So we're going to go back and talk a little Ghostbusters 2 as well.
Well, I think we can arrange a drop that coincides with one another.
Mm-hmm.
By the time you read this, Brandon Leftridge is back with another retro rerun review, this time on a little more obscure show. Do you remember the show 15 that used to be on Nickelodeon?
I did not, but just skimming through the article and throwing a little image up on Instagram, I saw that it was a young Ryan Reynolds in that TV show.
That was on Sunday afternoons. That was a couldn't miss show for me. I had to be home on Sunday afternoons. So I fell in love with it. It was like a high school teenage soap opera thing, and I was perfect age for it. So it was great. A couple of weeks ago, you done the Pac-Man in advertising, kind of a pictorial piece. So I took your lead on that, and I've got a pictorial that's dropping actually tomorrow as we record this. Just the box art from the original 17 Nintendo games that were all released at the same time with the release of the system.
Cool.
I'm always fascinated by that simple 8-bit box art those original games had. So it's all 17. It's a nice little pictorial look back at the original 17 Nintendo games. But for the main week, this is really our first overall theme week. We've kind of had a theme month without planning it with 89 Batman, but we have a theme week. The soundtrack of your high school life. So I know your piece is ready to go, looking at the things that got you through high school and beyond. And Adam's piece is ready. Our resident music expert, Eric, just finished his. And what I think the cool part about this week is going to be, we have some slight age differences, and we all grew up in different parts of the country.
Right.
So what was popular, I think it's going to be a very broad look at music in general from the 80s and 90s. So I'm really excited to read everybody's take on it. I think everybody will enjoy that too. I'm sure that everybody will find stuff they identify with and have memories of, or things they totally forgot about that they listen to all the time. So be sure to check all of that out.
What year did you graduate?
96.
96. Okay. So I was 94. And I think Eric is a little bit older than us. So he's going to be a little bit earlier than that.
Right.
So yeah, that's cool.
Adam is in kind of the same time frame as we are, but again, where we grew up in the East, Adam grew up on the West Coast, and Eric grew up in what I'd call the Midwest, Oklahoma. So I wonder sometimes the region you're in, how much it influences you. Yeah. Like I almost imagine Eric, which I know he's a big 80s music fan, maybe he'll talk about this. He may have been an anomaly. He may have been in a dominant country music market, and maybe he was, one of the weirdos listening to 80s new wave or something. So to hear those stories associated with these soundtracks of your life should be really good.
Yeah, and it's weird too, because you don't always most of probably what we'll see is relevant to that year or those couple years where you graduated, but man, I just tore up some Van Halen 1984 in my high school years. So there's still that case where it's not all going to be about that year that you graduated or those couple years, that some other stuff will spill into it,
Right. I haven't got to put my piece together yet, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to with everything I've got going on. But see, I was kind of an anomaly, and it was influenced by a lot of people I was around, but we were more of a CCR, Leonard Skinner. We were listening to stuff that was 20 years old when we were graduating and older, but also mixed in with, songs of the day. But it was a really weird combination to hear CCR's Green River and then go into Tone Loc's Wild Thing and then into Sweet Home Alabama. And it was a weird mishmash of stuff.
Back to the Spin Doctors and
yeah. Of course, our high school years and yours were too, I guess. Grunge really took off. Nirvana and Soundgarden and Stone Temple Pilots, Red Hot Chili Peppers, all this came along. So it was almost like a competing music factions at school then. I hope I get time to put the piece together because I've got a lot of neat information to throw in.
Yeah. I also did want to shout out Kevin Decent. You might also know as Kevin Hellions. He's come on our team, and sounds like he's going to put together some possible game reviews coming up, but it sounds like he's all in. He's got a great background in comics and wrestling and a lot of different things. I've podcasted with him before on my old Rediscover the 80s podcast when that first came out. But yeah, excited to have him on board as well.
Me too. I'm happy to have another old school wrestling soul on board, and I've got to get in touch with him. We're going to have to find out what his favorite eras of wrestling were. I'm going to get with him. We're going to, hopefully, if he's willing, we'll do some old retro wrestling stuff a little more often. Add that dynamic to the site.
Cool. You got anything else for us? We want to go ahead and get out of here.
Well, just one other quick thing. Since you're talking about Kevin, talking to a couple other contributors who have become highly interested in joining the team that keep your eye open for in the future. If you're liking everything you're seeing, which we hope you are, we may be able to provide even more of it. I believe at some point in the near future, instead of something new every day on the site, there will be a couple of new things every day on the site for your enjoyment.
Yeah, we're getting to that verge, so we'll see coming up. But yeah, appreciate all the feedback. I've gotten some great feedback so far on the podcast, on the site and everything, and just keep that coming. Tell us what we're doing well. Tell us what we could improve on, anything like that. Like Mickey has mentioned before, that's our currency, and would love to get your feedback on everything. But if that's it, man, well, let's go ahead and get out of here. Thank you, Chris Tanski, for coming on the hotline with me, and we'll have another interview next week, and that'll be our final one in that kind of Batman 89 realm. So stick around for that, and we'll be back with some more recurrent events and everything you come to listen to now on the podcast, and another sequel quest coming up. So thanks everyone for subscribing, and tell a friend, and just appreciate you coming on. So for Mickey, this is Jason, and we will talk to you next week.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to the Retro Network Podcast channel. Make sure you listen to all of the great podcasts we have to offer right here in this feed. If you enjoy our channel, please give us a 5-star rating in your favorite podcast app. Connect with us on social media by following TRN Social, and visit the retronetwork.com website for your daily retro fix. Come back next week for another episode of the Retro Network Podcast.